Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fruitful 7. This week, we're going to follow up our lesson where we talked about Jonathan helping David elude King Saul with another story where David ultimately ends up seeking refuge through the prophet Samuel to deal with this battle that he's been having with King Saul. Even though there's a specific portion of 1 Samuel chapter 19 that will look at, the entirety of the story that I'm referring to is actually 1 Samuel chapter 19 verses 8 through 24. And very quickly, I will give you a brief synopsis of what occurs leading up to the portion where David goes and meets the prophet Samuel. So we get to this stage after Jonathan has helped David elude Saul. David has gotten back to his usual habits. He's beaten up the Philistines, and scripture says that David beats the Philistines to a point where they just flee him at this point. David, whenever he shows up to the battlefield and the Philistines know that David is who they're going against, they get ready to tuck tail and run. And so following that, David is actually in the palace close to where Saul is sitting one day, and the evil spirit comes on Saul yet again. And the evil spirit is imploring Saul to do something harmful towards David. And if I remember correctly, Saul actually tries to throw the spear that he's holding at David to pin David to the wall. And so David is actually able to elude this harmful advance from Saul, and Saul tries again. Saul gets agents of his to go to David's house and kill him that way. And David's wife is Michal. And remember, Michal is Saul's daughter who has been given in marriage to David previously. And Michal loves and cares for David and wants to watch out for him. So when the agents come, Michal does several things to keep the agents from being able to kill David. And so the story gets to a point where David decides he needs to go and seek refuge and seek counsel from someone that he can trust. And we will start reading scripture and pick up where David goes to the prophet Samuel. I'll start reading at 1 Samuel chapter 19 and verse 18. So David fled and escaped and went to Samuel at Ramah and told him everything Saul had done to him. Then he and Samuel left and stayed in Naioth. When it was reported to Saul that David was at Naioth and Ramah, he sent agents to seize David. However, when they saw the group of prophets prophesying with Samuel leading them, the Spirit of God came on Saul's agents, and they also started prophesying. When they reported to Saul, he sent other agents, and they also began prophesying. So Saul tried again and sent a third group of agents, and even they began prophesying. Then Saul himself went to Ramah. He came to the large cistern at Seku, looked around, and asked, "Where are Samuel and David?" "At Naioth and Ramah," someone said. So he went to Naioth and Ramah. The Spirit of God also came on him. And as he walked along, he prophesied until he entered Naioth and Ramah. Saul then removed his clothes and also prophesied before Samuel. He collapsed and lay naked all that day and all that night. That is why they say, "Is Saul also among the prophets?" As we can see, there was a lot occurring in this passage of scripture, and there's two central things that I want to point out, but the overarching theme is that the Lord went to the extent of allowing his power to be shown to thwart the advances that Saul was making toward David. And I believe that David did a very great and noble thing by seeking refuge and seeking wisdom from the prophet Samuel. I also believe David understood from his previous interactions with Samuel that he would be the best person to be around during a time like this. If we remember, Samuel was also a person that helped advise and give Daniel direction whenever whenever he was dealing with unwanted advances from Saul previously. From what we read, we also see the intentionality from God using Samuel and Samuel's obedience to prophesy to thwart the plans that the agents had been sent to do. If you notice, there were, first of all, 3 waves of agents sent by Saul to kill David, and the power that was working through Samuel's obedience to prophesy was so strong that each wave of prophets, once they got to the location that David and Samuel were at, all they could do was fall in alignment with God's will and begin to prophesy as well. And then we see that when Saul arrives on the scene, Saul, the same thing happens to him. He wants to kill David and he has these evil intentions in his heart. But the power of God is so strong and so great that it would not allow that to be the case. And Saul himself prophesies to the fact that he actually derobes, he undresses himself and lays naked in the presence of all of them while Samuel is in the process of prophesying. What I believe is important to pull from this portion of David's story is that David had an ability to recognize where the presence of God was, and he knew that he could be stewarded by Samuel in that space, in a space where God's presence, God's provision and protection could be for him. And also we see how intentional and gracious God is to use his own power, to use his own testimony as evidenced and referenced by Samuel and those who were prophesying along with him to keep the enemy's plan, to keep Saul's evil plans from the evil spirit at bay. And with that, God bless you and thank you so much for watching and or listening. Be sure to leave any prayer requests or comments that you have on the comment or chat section in YouTube and or Spotify. I pray that these lessons that we've been covering on the life of King David have been a blessing to you. And I also hope that they will be an encouragement and something that will help build up your character and your walk with Christ, your personal walk with Christ as you build up your spiritual life. And so thank you so much again. And remember, the kingdom of heaven is at hand.